Things I think about the most when I come here on Sunday morning is I wonder, when you walk in here on a Sunday morning, I think about the stuff inside of you that you bring with you. Things you've gone through, things you're thinking about. Then I worry about, well, what happens if what I say has nothing to do with what you're going through, which probably happens a lot. You know, one of the reasons that I have spent so much time reading Maddie Stepanik's poems over the years, it's kind of funny because, you know, I went to, it's hard to believe that I went to school for 8 years to do this. I mean, 4 years of college, 4 years of seminary, and then this kid, Maddie Stepanik, who died in 2004 at the age of 13. And he spent his life in a wheelchair on oxygen. And somehow he captured a depth of spirit about God's presence that I didn't come close to until I started reading him. Because religion and the church has a lot of baggage. And sometimes that gunk gets in the way of just discovering the simplicity and majesty of God's Spirit. Anyway, when Maddie was 5 years old, he wrote his first poem. And I've read this before, just an excerpt. He said, "I have a song down deep inside my heart, and I'm the only one who can hear it. When I close my eyes and sit very still, it's easy to listen to my song." So, everyone in the whole wide world has a heart song. If you believe in magic, if you believe in music, if you believe you can truly be happy, then you too will always hear your heart song. You see, it's your heart song that makes you unique. And that's where God lives and speaks to us. And then, 2 years before he died, he wrote a little poem about himself. And I have a feeling that when he wrote this poem, he knew the end was near. He said, "My name is Maddie J.T. Stepanik. My body has light skin, I have red blood, blue eyes, blonde hair, I have muscular dystrophy, I have a trach, I'm on a ventilator, I need oxygen. But I'm a survivor. And I know someday soon I will see my brothers and sisters in heaven. And when I grow up, I want to be a father, a writer, a public speaker, but most of all, I want to be a peacemaker. And you know something? I always will love my body and my mind, even if it has different abilities than yours. I will always be happy because I will always be me." Such wisdom from a little kid. Anyway, what's in your heart song today? What is it that makes you tick? Where do you get your passion? Maddie was confined to a wheelchair. He never could dance and play and go to the prom. He dreamt of having a family. And yet, in his own childlike way, he was able to say, "I will always be happy because I will always be me." So I read Maddie's poem this morning and went out back early this morning with my wonder dog, Harley. And we just put 20 new bricks in the pathway. Those are the ones that you ordered about 3.5 years ago. They finally came. And as those bricks were placed in the pathway, I looked at the names, those names and all the ones that were out there. And I thought of Maddie. I will always be happy because I will always be me. As I put the bricks down there, I thought of Frankie in a nursing home now that battled of cancer for the last 10 or 12 years, all the ups and downs of her journey, and how her brother and his wife have taken such good care of her. I thought of Vern Bach, who seems to come upon stumbling block after stumbling block in his battle with cancer. Yesterday I had a funeral. I was at Holy Sepulchre Cemetery, where they actually invite Lutherans to come in now, as long as the check doesn't bounce. And I went to where Peggy's husband is buried. And I talked to Mike. And then I came back here and I went to Jude's garden. And I said, "Jude, have you and Mike met in heaven? Are you talking about us now?" And then, have you ever been to Pops in Palos Heights, 127th in Harlem? Little brat, some good beef. I did this funeral for family I didn't know until then. I find out that the funeral is for the mother of the man that owns Pops. And I realized in meeting the family, that hot dog stand is an oasis. It's a place where the family comes together. And the granddaughter did the eulogy. And so I met her before the service, and I said, what kind of work do you do? I work at Pops. That's our family. That's where I work, Pops. Then I asked her, I said, well, what religion was your mom? And she said her religion was working at Pops. That was her religion. And I said, I could tell she didn't go to church because that's why you're stuck with me for the funeral. And she said, well, why do you ask? And I said, because I'm looking for something to talk about on Sunday. And now I'm going to talk about you and your grandmother. You know, I'm not sure what this has to do with the price of coffee beans in Brazil, but there's a big game at Wrigley Field today. Isn't it amazing? And even if you're not a sports person or don't like the Cubs, you play 162 games during the season, and it all comes down to the very last game of the season. And you can think of the players. And one guy's thinking, boy, those 2 or 3 games we lost 2.5 months ago, we didn't think it was all that important. If we had won those games, we'd be in first place now. Or the guy that made the arrow 3 games ago and I didn't win the game, he said, if I hadn't made that bad throw, this thing would be over. Maybe it was that one sales call that you messed up 2 months ago and it turned your year around. Maybe it's that one funeral, Don, where you pronounced the person's last name wrong and they were so upset they never came back to church. Maybe it's that one thing you said wrong in the class that you teach and somehow you got in trouble for that. But there's also the other side where you say the right thing and you make the right play, and in that little moment you turned somebody else's life around. I can't remember when it was, but when one of my sons comes up to me and says, Dad, how many weddings have you done? And I said, I've done hundreds of weddings. And he said, you know, Dad, a wedding is one of the most important days in a person's life. And if you screw it up, you can be lost forever. And I said, thanks for the encouragement. If you get 99 out of 100 right, but you're the one person who didn't get it right, you made a bad day for somebody else. Makes me realize that every day is precious. Every moment is precious. Every Polish sausage that comes out of the window at Pops is important to somebody else. Every car that a mechanic works on is important, especially if it's yours. Every patient you bathe at the nursing home is important. Every sales call, every moment of teaching, every pipe that the plumber fixes, every act of kindness that you show one of St. Coletta's people when they cross our property, every one of those moments is precious and potentially life-saving. It's a moment where your heart song is on display. And somehow, some way through that moment, God speaks to somebody else. You know, I, like many of you, I read the paper and I watch the news. And I, like most of you, I deeply, deeply care about our country. I love our country more than ever. I love the flag. I'm so grateful to live in this country, to be with people like you, and to have the freedom to preach and to buy toys and to turn the key and to make coffee. And when I go out back in the morning and I see all the names and the flags in the air, I'm so proud. I'm so grateful every moment. And it makes me want to reach out more. It makes me want to give more. It causes me to wonder sometimes, and there's a lot of things that I question. But every day is a gift, even though that gift may come in a package that you may not want to see on that particular day. But in the meantime, I may start going to Pops more. And I may start going to the nursing home more. And I'm going to read Maddie's poems even more. And I'm going to thank my plumber more. And I'm going to turn the other cheek more and treat every single moment like it's the final game of the World Series. Like Maddie says, I will always be happy because I will always be me. Thanks, Maddie, for the gift. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed. It's on page 105.